Now let's practice writing programs that require ifs. So these are going to be programs where we want to change the behavior of the program based on the value of a variable or user input. So I've brought up my writing ifs questions here. We're going to work on a program that asks the user for the current temperature and outputs what they should wear. So this is the learning exercise writing ifs. And remember, it's good practice to always put a comment and preferably the author name at the top of every file, every program that you write. Okay, so my program, if I read through part A, it's going to have a variable temp that stores the temperature, which is input from the user. So I'm going to ask the user to please enter a temperature. Now, I think I'm going to want to use this temperature as a numeric value, not a string. So do you remember what function we have to put? If you said eval, you are correct. You could also use int or float, depending on the precise nature of the numeric value you'd like to use. Okay, so we ask the user to enter the temperature. We're storing it in a variable temp. That takes care of steps A and B. Now with C, we want to display the following information based on the temperature range. Now I highly recommend that you pause this video and you try this on your own first. There are many different ways of answering this problem. I will show you one way, but there's a lot of different ways. Okay, so if it's above 90, so if temp is above 90, I want to display, whoa, it's boiling. Okay. Elif, the temp is above or equal to 80. Oops, 80. I'm going to print it's getting hot. Ooh, let me make sure I can write that correctly. Elif, it's below 80. So Elif, the temp, I can't just say below 80. Do you know why? Print a perfect day. Because, let me look at the next one. Elif, the temp is below 60. Well, let's take a temperature like 50. So don't forget your sweater. If I've got a temperature like 50, is 50 going to be below 80? Yeah, it is. So this doesn't work. However, what I can do is I can either reorder these conditions here because I started with above and now I've moved to below, or I can convert them into the same format of greater than that I had before. So if I go down and I see if temp is less than 60, well, I can flip that above here and say if temp is greater than or equal to 60. Likewise, I can go down here and see what the next temperature that I'm looking for. It's freezing, okay? If temp is greater than or equal to freezing, and then I can do an else at the bottom. So I can print brr, you need a coat. Okay? And let's test this out, make sure it works properly. So I'm going to run ifs. I want to enter a temperature. Let's try 72. A perfect day. Great! Now, question for you. Am I done testing? Not necessarily. So with our previous programs, running them once was usually enough to show us that we had tested it properly. However, now that we have choices to thoroughly test this program, we actually would need to test it at least once for each of these conditions. So if the temp is greater than 90, greater than 80, greater than 60, greater than 32, or less than 32. So right now I'm only going to demonstrate testing it a second time, but you should make sure that you're testing your programs enough that you're running each part of an if statement. So in this case, brr, you need a coat. It appears that it's working correctly. Okay, I'm going to go on to the second example. And I'm going to create a new Python program for that. Okay, so this would be learning exercise, writing ifs 2. Emily Hill. Okay, so I'm going to write a program that takes a number as input from the user. So please enter a number. And as before, I'm going to use eval to convert my user's input into a number. And it's going to print the equivalent string letter grade. Ooh, so please enter, I'm going to say enter a grade from 0 to 100. And so now I need to create an if statement that's going to print the letter grades, not plus or minus, but just the broad letter grade categories. So 90 up is an A, 80 up is an B, etc. Again, there's a lot of different ways you could do this that are correct. So I'm going to keep doing it the same way I did it before. If, and I'm going to make this grade, because that's a more accurate name than number. If grade is greater than or equal to 90, print A. Elif grade is greater than or equal to 80, I'm going to print B, etc. Elif grade is greater than or equal to 70, I'm going to print C. Elif grade greater than or equal to 60, I'm going to print D. And finally, if it's not one of those, boo-hoo, let's not have any of these, it would be enough. And now we need to test it. You should really, to fully test these, you should run them multiple times. I'm just going to run this a couple times. So run ifs 2, I'm going to enter in a grade. Let's try 75. I get C. Let me try running it again. I'll enter 5, and I get F. And we'll run it one more time. We want to end on a high note. Let's try 90. So one common way to test is to test corner cases. These are things really close to your condition. So like 90 and 89 are good corner cases to make sure your program is handling them correctly. And our program is handling them correctly.